Now, I could sit here and tell you guys all the things that you already know, like you probably should be nice to other people, but instead what I'm going to do is tell you why, from the perspective of what debate is about. Sportsmanship, in my mind, is an issue of how we perceive debate, or what our goals are in debate. If you have the wrong perception or the wrong goals of what debate is about, then sportsmanship will always seem forced, and treating other people like teammates, not like competitors, will seem like a very counterintuitive thing to do. But if you have the right perspective about debate, sportsmanship is second nature. That's just the way that you act based on what you put value on when you're competing. So we're kind of in a unique community as debaters. We're in a community with people who are both our opponents as well as our teammates on a broader goal. In fact, almost every mission statement for a debate league has something, or a Christian debate league at least, has some sort of reference to the fact that the goal of debate is to teach us how to be more effective apologists or more effective communicators to the glory of God. So because it is a competitive activity, the people around you are your competitors. They're people that you should treat like they are your competition. But the real question is, who are we competing against, and how do we gauge success? If we gauge success by what we can do, then actually, I'm not sure what, if we gauge success by what we do, then the identity that we're putting in debate is in our own success. And it's entirely self-focused. If you focus only on your competitors as your opposition, then it's a very self-focused, you're going to do what it takes to win mentality. But if you focus on the people around you as your teammates, then it's kind of a broader scale. You're taking into account the fact that the people around you have very similar goals to what you do, probably want to accomplish a lot of the same things, and are competing for the same reason that you are. You're competing in an iron sharpening iron activity. I just pulled the mission statement of NCFCA because I think it says it really well, that we're doing this to address life issues from a biblical worldview in a manner that glorifies God. That's why you all are here. That's why we're here. That's why the debate leagues that we all compete in were founded. And ultimately, we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. So the people around you have two identities in comparison to you. They have their identity as your teammates, but they also have their identity as your opposition. So what happens when they conflict? What happens when you're in a tournament and you are dealing with people who are both your brothers and sisters in Christ, but also the people that you desperately want to beat? The purpose of competition is to strengthen us as a team. That's the broader picture of debate. When the two identities come into conflict, the other competitor's identity as your teammate in a larger battle should be paramount. Obviously, because that is the bigger picture, that is the reason why we're doing competition in the first place. Pretty obvious idea there. That knowledge, the idea that people that you're competing against are rather your teammates, not your competition, makes sportsmanship a natural activity. So just a couple ideas of what you can do and how you can embrace this idea before the tournament, during the tournament. Before the tournament, there's a couple things that I like to try that I'm still working towards and everyone can work towards. The first one is collaboration. So one great way that you can show that you really want what's best for debate, that you really want what's best for the league as a whole, is to work with other people. If you're shutting yourself off from other people's input, A, you're going to be suffering, but B, you're going to be cutting off other people that are your brothers and sisters in Christ and that are going to have a less effective debate career and a less effective education because you're not willing to interact with them and help them. The second idea was cooperation. It's basically what I was saying. Help other people out. If we're in a mentor relationship with other students, that's a great way to pursue sportsmanship. Also, honestly, just sit down with another team. Treat them like the community that they are. And the last one is probably the most important, is just courtesy. Treat others as you would like to be treated. The metric on this is answering questions. How many of you guys have asked someone about a case or asked someone a question about an argument and they haven't answered you? And how did you feel about that? Okay, Wayne liked it, but the majority of you guys would probably be fairly upset, right? It's not a really fun place to be. You asked them for a reason. You'd probably prefer to have an answer. Treat other people like you would like to be treated. Before you respond to someone asking about your case, before you respond to someone collaborating about a brief, ask yourself, what would I want if I were in their position? That shows the love of Christ, and that ultimately is the true meaning of sportsmanship in my idea of what happens before the tournament. My Prezi's not moving. Okay, there we go. Okay. So before the round, this is after the tournament has begun, before you go into the round and debate. I'll be splitting up the rest part of this presentation into demeanor and perspective. The demeanor before your round really needs to be that of caution. Always be careful what you say. How many of you guys have talked bad about a team or kind of talked about how a team argues before you go into a debate round? Like the vast majority of us probably have. It's just a natural reaction when you're about to debate someone to kind of think about how they're acting. But the tenet that I would say is most important when dealing with true sportsmanship is always being above reproach. You may think that you're sitting alone in a room with your partner and that no one else is listening, but they could be right outside. It's better to not say something at all at a tournament than to say something even if you think you're in a safe place and hurt someone's feelings. Okay, obviously introduce yourself. This is key to setting the tone of the round, is introducing yourself in a way that's actually gracious and nice and recognizes the fact that the other team does have value in what they're saying, or that the other team actually should be enjoying competing against you instead of just treating you purely as a competitor, purely as the opposition to be beaten. Keep it in context. Now this is kind of something that I had to work on a lot, is remembering where you are and understanding who you're debating. So if you're debating a novice team, you need to introduce yourself a little bit differently than if you're debating a team that you've been debating for the past 4 years. My first year in debate, I debated this one girl and her partner 5 separate times. Literally every tournament we would debate each other. And by the end of the tournament, we would just kind of laugh about the fact that we had debated again. And that was really cool for me, but I couldn't talk to her the same way that I talked to the novice. We would, for example, make jokes about each other's cases. Don't bully the novices. It may seem like fun, but it's really not a great idea. Okay. This last one is kind of something that hit home with me. How many of you guys say, I wish you good luck, or good providence, or good luck on this debate round? Most of us do? Okay, I asked you guys to do a show of hands at the last camp, and no one actually did it. So I'm just going to tell you the point of this. I did that one time in a parley round, and the judge got up and asked me, do you really mean that? And of course, both of the teams were like, oh yes, of course we mean it. But in the back of our heads, we're thinking, wait, how many times have I said, I hope you have a good debate round, and not actually meant it? Honestly, the vast majority of the time, you probably don't want the other team to have their best round. But true sportsmanship embraces the idea and celebrates others' success, because we see that in the broader picture, we are teammates pursuing a common goal. Did someone over there have a question? No? We were just doing show hands? Never mind then. So that's the demeanor. The perspective, if I can get this to go over. The perspective, here's a couple of questions that you could ask yourself to determine where you are on this scale. What's more important in the long run? Your friendship or the win in this debate round? Would it be worth it to sacrifice the friendship in order to win a debate round? At the beginning of my debate career, I probably would have said yes. I'm going into my 4th year, and I've had enough friendships that were kind of on the rocks because of the way that I acted in debate rounds, ways that my friends acted in debate rounds, that I now realize just how terrible of a perspective that is. The win honestly doesn't matter in the long run. The community that you have with other debaters does. What can you do to make this round as good as it can be? That can mean giving the other team your 1AC. That can mean handing them a negative brief if they don't have one on your case. That can even mean just introducing yourself in a nice way and telling them that it's going to be a good debate round, especially if they're nervous. That's your goal. That needs to be your goal. What can I do to make this as good as it can be? And who is your competition? This kind of goes back to the keeping it in context point earlier. Okay, during and after the round. So during the round, your demeanor should be to win over your opponents as well as your judge. You shouldn't just be the team that people expect to win. You should be the team that people want to win. The reason why is because that's ultimately when you've achieved true ethos, when you've achieved true credibility, when no one is upset that you won another tournament because of the way you acted in a debate round. Okay, step away from the situation. This is another really hard one for a lot of us. A lot of us have kind of hot tempers. I know I did, still do. And it's very easy to kind of get caught up in the passion of a debate round. But maybe in the idea of sportsmanship, it would be a good idea to not quite answer that cross-ex question the way you want to. This is a really hard thing. It's basically self-control. It needs to be practiced in a debate round. The other important part of this is watching your language. So one of my favorite stories to tell about this is from the Boston National Open a couple years ago. And going into round 4, my partner and I were feeling pretty good. We actually ended up hitting this team that was running a sourcebook case. Now my partner and I hadn't printed out the sourcebook that this case came from, so we didn't have a negative brief on it, and we honestly just kind of enjoyed arguing theory anyway, so we didn't particularly feel the need to print out this particular sourcebook. Well, we ended up running topicality because their case basically forced an agency that already existed to implement a program that they were already trying to implement, so we ran significance topicality, saying it wasn't a significant reform because they already had the power to do the plan. And the response that the affirmative team gave, they got up in their 1AR and said, Judge, the negative team I mean, our case is in a source book. The negative team literally was just too lazy to research our case, so they're running topicality. And that was one of the rudest things that someone has ever said to me in a debate round. And they ended up getting voted down because my partner and I ended up critiquing them in their rebuttals. And it was a really great debate round on theory, but we left the round really offended on both sides.